end of chapter 16, we saw that there seem to be two forces which are at the end of chapter 16 we saw two forces, Daivi and Asuri, which seem to be pulling us in opposite directions. But what are these opposite directions? The God and the devil? Or is there something to do with our own antahakaran, our own inner makeup? And so those of us who have noble qualities will naturally be drawn to a kind of equanimity, a kind of silence, santosh, and not only santosh but a kind of fulfillment in whatever little we have in this world, or whatever we all have, too much of everything, and that fulfillment eludes us, but that fulfillment becomes a part of a noble or a Devi antahakaran when we say, yes, there is silence, there is quietness, and there is santosh and detachment and samata, which is one of the biggest qualities that Bhagwan has talked about from chapter 2 onwards. Samata is the biggest yoga of Krishna actually, samata, equanimity. And what about the other pravritti, which is Asuri? The Asuri pravritti is कि मुझे थोड़ा सा मान और मिल जाए, थोड़ी सी बढ़ाई और मिल जाए, थोड़ा सा धन और मिल जाए. हाँ, सब कुछ है, जीवन निर्वाह के लिए है, बट थोड़ा सा और मिल जाए, थोड़ा ऐश्वर्य मिल जाए, थोड़ा आराम और मिल जाए, एंड थोड़ा एंटरटेनमेंट, थोड़ा ट्रैवल और मिल जाए. तो ये काम जो है ना, कामना, द डिजायर्स, दे आर एंडलेस, एंड द आसुरी पर्सन, विदाउट बीइंग कॉन्शियस ऑफ इट रियली, if he is not a very self-aware person, gets drawn willy-nilly into one direction or the other. Now, we have to be aware of both these directions, because why is one easier than the other? People will say, look, if Devi and Asuri are both there, then we should be equally attracted to both, isn't it? But there is a problem here. Why is it that we are not equally attracted in both directions, but we are more easily drawn into Asuri pravritti of Dhan and Aishwarya and Lokeshna and Vitteshna? That's because we are following Indriya. You see, Indriya are the culprit. All our sense organs are in direct touch with Sansar. They are facing outward, and so the sense of touch and sight and sound and all these tastes, all these are facing outwards and in direct contact with Sansar. So naturally, they have a bigger play in our life. And the antahakaran for having more subtle qualities is too subtle for us to see, because there is no direct organ actually in touch with the antahakaran except the mind. Our mind, if it is in our control, it's the only one that can see within. And therefore, this push and pull between Devi and Asuri. Bhagwan has said at the end of the chapter, look, do some very simple things. Hold on to the scriptures, he said. Hold on to the scriptures and reflect upon yourself. Practice some of the noble virtues that were talked about in the early part of 16th chapter, verses 2 and 3 actually, about detachment, asakti, about samata, equanimity, about vivek. Now, vivek is always remembering sat and asat. Everything in the world actually which is changing is asat, and we are hanging on to it for dear life. If we remember even these few noble qualities of vivek and slight detachment from things and samata, there will be provocation, there will be things which will spin out of control. We may try to be too much in control of certain situations in the family or at the workplace or in the community, society, because we've been given a leadership role maybe. So we are in the forefront of the action, and those who are in the forefront of the action, leading some of the events or trying to make some change maybe in society or family or workplace, these are the people most in danger of flying out of control in their antahakaran and moving towards rajasic. Rajasic meaning getting impatient and angry and ambitious, and also angry because things are not in their control and people are not behaving the way we think they should. So when we are given leadership roles, actually it's a double-edged sword. It's a way of making some change in our society. We will see this also when we are into social work. When we join an NGO or start up a social work activity and initiate something so that there is service to the society, what will happen is not many people will respond the way we want them to respond. Some will be in a very selfish mode, and we are not expecting that. And because things are not happening according to our expectations, even when we are doing some noble task, we are in danger because we have initiated it. We are in danger of anger and impatience because things are not turning out our way. So we have to watch out. That doesn't mean we should give up action. We have to be taking up action which is for the welfare of people, and yet guard against all the dangers of ambition. I want to complete this. I want a name. I want people, the municipal corporation or the local authorities to recognize the work I'm doing for the community. That ambition itself brings anger, and even if there is no such ambition, the actions and thoughts and motives of other people around us are going to provoke us. Everything is going to provoke us. Are we in control? Are we in control of that mind? Are we, samata become our yoga, as Krishna has enjoined for us to do. Enjoined, Arjun, you must do this. Samata is your yoga. If not, then all the effort is wasted, no matter how noble. The effort and work outside in the world is not of as much consequence as the result it has upon our own antahkaran. Therefore, Bhagwan has said at the end of the 16th chapter, he has said very, very clearly, and what were his words? He said, if everything fails and you don't know the direction and you really don't know why things are spinning out of control, and you're trying to do something good for people and for society and even for the families, selflessly, things go out of control. Bhagwan says, if you still can't figure it out, just remember the Shastras. And he said in the 24th, last verse of 16th chapter, he said, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Karya Vyavasthitao. Right or wrong actions, they will be set right if you just follow the authority of the scriptures. And what are the scriptures saying? Scriptures are saying, just remember Vivek, what is Sat and Asat. And everything in the world is Nashwar, so don't attach. So Asakti, don't attach too much importance to the result. Just keep going ahead. And also Samata, remember that the equanimity of your mind is important. So Bhagavan said a bit of detachment and a bit of practice of these noble virtues, and then give up some of your evils like Kama, Krodh, and this is going to evolve you beautifully. Now, this Asuri and Daivi Prakriti or Pravritti that we have, they are now going to be elaborated into three kinds of guna which shows in us. Naturally, the three gunas are Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Now, Arjun in the 17th chapter, as we begin, Arjun starts with a question. So before we even go into the gunas, let's see Arjun's question. The title of chapter 17 is Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga. Shraddha Traya Vibhaga. That means there are three kinds of shraddhas or beliefs or inclinations, and swabhava, let's call it. Bhagwan just calls it Shraddha. You have a Shraddha, that's the three kinds of ways of behavior, and you have to learn to distinguish. Shraddha Traya Vibhaga. Distinguish these three very clearly in your life and in your mind. That's the purpose of chapter 17. That's the yoga of chapter 17. Atha Saptadashodhyayaha. 17th chapter begins. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Arjuna Uvacha. Ye Shastra Vidhi Mutsrajya. Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha. Tesham Nishtha Tuka Krishna. Tasvamaho Rajastamaha. Very simple, very innocent question. Every chapter in the Bhagavad Gita begins with one query, one inquiry, a curiosity on the part of Arjun. Arjun's question here is that, Bhagwan, you have told us a lot about Devi and Asuri, about the ignoble and noble qualities. But now, so now we are very clear that two roads diverged in the wood, okay, as was said by the poet. The two roads diverged in the wood, and one road is facing God. The other road, when we take it, our back is to God. Let's put it like that, in a simple symbolic way. Now, the trouble is, this Devi and the Asuri, these were both not roads outside of us. If these were roads outside of us, how easy it would be to distinguish and to be able to discern and to make the right choice. But these roads, unfortunately, are not outside of us. They are inside of us. Not easy to discern, not easy to detect, and yet we tread the path of one road or the other, not being fully aware, because these are roads inside of us, and therefore they are not always within the light of our awareness. Awareness does not always shed light upon it, and therefore in a fit of anger we give way to impatient words when things are not going our way, and then we don't know where is this impatience coming from. If we are reflecting later, then we'll know, it came because I desired a certain result, people provoked me, or the situation went out of hand, and I gave way to impatience. Later in this chapter we will see who is propelling it, who is commanding, and who is ordaining these actions, who is directing them. Is it Bhagwan, my anger or my samata, my equanimity, my selfishness or my selflessness, my attitude of acceptance or my attitude of bitterness? Who is permitting it? Who is directing it? We will see the details a little further. First we answer Arjun's question. Arjun's question is very simple. He says, those who have set aside the scriptures, because the last verse in the 16th chapter was, Bhagwan said, please follow the scriptures if you have lost your way. And Arjun says, those who are setting aside the scriptures, suppose, but at the same time, yajante shraddhayanvitaha, they perform all the proper rituals and religious practices and yajna with complete faith and shraddha. They have shraddha, but they have not read the scriptures. Imagine, and there are millions of such people performing, and you see even right now as Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations are going on with such pomp and such show and such energy. In every home, in every society, in every locality, there will be one Ganesha. So there's a lot of outward manifestation of that Shraddha. But Arjun says, hold on, wait a minute. I want to know all these people who are performing all these grand rituals and visarjans and pujas and ceremonies, and every morning they begin with a Panditji coming over at the pandal for a proper puja. If they have not read the scriptures, is Arjun's question, suppose, then Tesham Nishtha to Ka Krishna. Krishna, tell me, then their Nishtha or their Swabhava or their belief in how they should behave, their temperament or their nature will take which direction? What an intelligent question he has asked. Will take which direction, meaning which direction? Then he goes on to say, Sattvamaho Rajastamaha. Will they take the path of Sattvic or Rajasic or Tamasic? Please tell me. This is a very, very poignant question. That outwardly you see so much of pomp and show of ritualism and yajna and the performance of religious activities, and not that they don't have Shraddha. They have, and Arjun says, Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha. They're doing it with Shraddha. I don't doubt it. But they have not read the scriptures. They don't know a thing that Krishna has said about the Jagat, about Jiva, about Sat. What is Sat? What is Asat? What is Mithya? They don't know. They haven't read. Then, will they go towards Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic? Good question. Bhagwan says, okay. Now, please remember that these individuals that he is talking about. When he says yagya, he doesn't mean only religious practices. Of course, they are quite evident out there, but also those who are doing selfless service for society, and for the general well-being of people. There are lots of people who are doing great yagya, great effort, and they are doing it in the spirit of non-expectation. And yet, what is it that will take them in which direction? Will the direction of such people who are practicing rituals and who are also doing selfless service? First of all, there is a hidden question in Arjun's query. The hidden question is, why don't they know about the scriptures in the first place? We take it for granted, yes, they don't know. Why? Well, there are many reasons. We ourselves were unaware of the scriptures, but we were very much part of sansar and ritualism and social work. Why is this happening? Many reasons. Scriptures are not known to millions of people. Why? One, some people reject it outright because they have an abhiman and a dambha that they are successful in society and in their workplace or in their business, and therefore they feel that their capacity, their buddhimani and their chaturai and their skill in the world is enough. Why do I want to know what scriptures say? You see, मैं कितना बुद्धिमान हूँ, वो अभिमान के साथ चलते हैं, and therefore there is a rejection. Okay, and even if the scriptures are introduced to such people, they normally reject it out of this abhiman. Okay, so there is a barrier. There are some people who resist it because they think it's too tough, or it's too obscure, or too ancient, or too irrelevant for the modern society, or too irrelevant for me in my life because I am doing okay. Now, because of that resistance, they are depriving themselves. So there are many millions who are unaware of the scriptures again. There are some of us, third reason, some of us for many years unaware of the scriptures because we didn't find the right satsang, the right family or social or educational environment, that is called satsang, the sangati of the right people, and the exposure was not there. And fourth, we were unaware of the scriptures all this while because of the excitement of so much happening in life. You have to pass the exams when we are young and then get on to looking for jobs, then look for better jobs and then promotions, and then look for a life partner, and then the family starts, and then the family, once it starts, then there are children to look after, and then their education, and then their exams, and their nutrition, and their welfare. The cycle is long. I don't have to repeat it. What happens is that there is too much happening, too much excitement of activities happening in life for me to look for another path. Is there another path? And therefore I may have missed the scriptures. So there is no second plan of action in life through the Shastra. And so this indifference or resistance or a lack of exposure, all these reasons, we are not exposed. So Arjuna is asking in the first verse of the 17th chapter, those souls who have been deprived or who have not, he just says, they have set aside. Ye Shastra Vede Mritsvrajya, they have set aside the scriptures. Where do they go? So Bhagavan answers that in the second verse of 17th chapter. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Trividha Bhavati Shraddha Dehinam Sa Swabhavaja Satviki Rajasi Chaiva Tamasi Cheti Tam Shrunu. That is, Arjun, listen, I am going to tell you about Satvik, Rajasic and Tamasic. That's in the second line. These are the three, Trividha Bhavati. These are three types of, let's say, Swabhava, temperament, nature, behavior, mental climate, Antahakaran, whatever you call it, which has been factory fitted. It is then in the factory model. It is not fitted later on. It is fitted later on, or it is enhanced later on by our exposure to Guru, Shastra, Satsang, company of good people, not good people in the sense people in search of the truth. Now this environment can enhance some of these qualities, But the factory fitting of sattvic, rajasic and tamasic qualities, Bhagavan says, Trividha bhavati shraddha dehinam, in your body, in yourself, sa svabhavaja, that by nature has been fitted. Achha? So now I am not in control of it. So there is a sense of trepidation. Am I in control or not? Bhagavan says, hold on, I am going to elaborate on this a little bit. Dehinam sa svabhavaja, nature has fitted this in your dehi, in your system, let's call it. Okay. So sattvic is what? Okay, so if you find that you are in most situations calm and detached and selfless and offer your services or your time or your energy, and in times of need you step forward and say, okay, I'll do it, you hold on in the others and you support people, it becomes a natural, it is there in the nature of some people to do that. You see them in social setups. Whenever something is happening or an event is happening, it may be a social event or a cultural or religious or whatever, or academic event, there's always someone coming forward and say, okay, let me organize this and set things so that we can go ahead. And there's some who are taking the back seat. Also, there's a sociological reason for it. When there is someone taking the initiative to fix things there, right there in front of you, the others will, sociological research says, the others will take the back seat. Doesn't mean that they are tamasic. Let's not jump to the conclusion and be hasty in judging others. There is a sociological and psychological reason. For example, if there is an accident on the road and there are two people who rush towards the scooterist or one who has fallen on the road, the others will not always rush towards or offer a helping hand because there are two already doing it. Okay, but at the same time, that sattvic is there in us. Rajasic, well, of course, we know about it, the ambitious and the passionate. And of course, tamasic, not very dynamic, a little dull and laid back. Okay, but one says, don't worry, dehinam sa svabhavajaha, factory fitting in you, in your system is already there. Now, that means I have a choice. Let's see. Bhagavan says in verse number 3, chapter 17. Why should we take these into consideration as temperaments? Because these are our temperaments. Are the temperaments driving us or are we driving them? That's the whole crux of the matter. So Bhagavan says, Sattvanurupa sarvasya Shraddha bhavati bharata Shraddha mayoyam purusho Yo yaschan shraddha sa eva saha Yo yat shraddha sa eva saha Yo yat shraddha sa eva saha. The last part. What does it mean? Very simply, it means that what you believe in is going to become your nature. Yo yat shraddha sa eva saha. What does it mean? I have certain beliefs. So suppose I have a belief in service, then my behavior and my temperament and my activities and my pursuits will be of a similar nature. If I believe that, oh, all these people who are doing social work out there, you know that they are fleecing, they are steeped in corruption, and I don't know whether my wealth or my effort is going to be wasted because I know I have read so much about the corruption of all these organizations, and therefore I pull back because it's a convenient reason. It's the same thing that we do when we talk about ashrams and organizations which are offering services of Gyan, that is Shastra Gyan. And there are people, and there have been people, you heard them, they say, okay, if you're giving Gyan, why is it that these ashrams take dan or dakshina or donations? But how will they run their ashrams? How will the new yogis or new monks be trained into the Shastra? How do you sustain it? हम अपने जीवन निर्वाह के लिए काम करते हैं. We offer our services to society. In the same way, the ashrams are offering great service back to society by offering them the highest truth, the right path, so that we are not lost, our sense of direction. And in fact, they are doing a greater service for our moksha, for the salvation of our soul. And at the same time, we question them and we say, no, I don't think they deserve donations. Because we've heard of so many fake organizations. Okay, so I have heard of so many fake banks who steal the money, or so many investment, companies. And therefore, should I stop investing? Because I know there are many scams. And so many companies have said that now they are insolvent, and they have taken investments from hundreds of people, and they filed for insolvency and disappeared from the face of the earth. Yes, there are so many. But my investments go on. Why? Because I have faith that my investments will bring me more money. So I find more I find more investment companies, and I still keep investing because I have faith in investment. In the same way, when we have faith that yes, there are other organizations and charitable organizations which may be doing good work, go and let's find out about it. I may have faith in it. Whatever we believe in, if I believe that everybody is corrupt and everybody is false and fake, then my action in society, my contribution to society will be less. Whatever we believe in is what our behavior will be directed by. If I believe in selfishness and laziness, of course that is my shraddha, it's my choice. And I feel the मनुष्य जन्म दिया गया है कि मैं अपना भोग करूं, मैं आराम करूं, और मेरे लिए ही तो है. और पैसा किसने कमाया है? मैंने कमाया है. I am the one who has earned it. So who can raise a finger if I spend it only on my aisho aram? If that is my shraddha, my belief, and it is true for millions of people, then my lifestyle will be dictated by that shraddha. So Bhagavan says everything that you do, all your pursuits and your actions and your behavior and your nature is ordained by the belief or the shraddha you have. So yo yat shraddha sa eva saha. Faith is what is going to dictate your nature, and your nature will become your swabhav. And we know all this, the rest of the cycle, which then becomes our destiny. So if I believe that all the people are selfish, and they're doing things only for themselves, if that is my shraddha, belief, then my nature will not be very compassionate. I will not be compassionate. But if I believe that, listen, everyone is struggling for the same happiness. They may have different routes to it. They may find different methods to it. But everyone wants happiness and joy, and everyone has a right to happiness in this life, and their struggle is on. If I believe that, my nature will become more compassionate and supportive. It is just a matter of shraddha, what I believe. So Bhagavan says, these three qualities that Arjuna has talked about, sattva, rajas, tamas, who is dictating it? Bhagavan is saying, I am not dictating it. Don't look at me as Krishna or God or some higher power someday who is pulling the strings. No, it is your shraddha and it's your choice. Bhagavan has made it very clear that we make the choices, and we are pushed or pulled in one direction or the other by the choice that we make. It's a vicious cycle. And how do we make the choice? Naturally, based on our sattva, rajas, tamas. So then one is ordering the other. And Bhagavan says in the 4th verse that let's sort this out. He says, Yajante satvika devan. Those who worship the gods are sattvic people. What do you mean worship? Worship meaning when we invoke the highest power, and we don't know that highest power because we don't have a direct contact in the physical sense, but we invoke a higher power with the belief that my fulfillment, my prayers will be answered and my fulfillment will be done. When I invoke, that invocation is called worship. Bhagavan says, those who are sattvic, they invoke the God. Yeah, very clear. Yaksha rakshamsi rajasaha. And those who are rajasic, they actually invoke the yakshasas or the rakshasas. Not to be taken literally, because there are no such physical entities like gods and yakshas and rakshasas. We know that by now. That's for the simple mind, just to grasp the symbolism of it. Now we will define each part of it. Pretan bhuta ganan chanye. The ghosts or the preta are worshipped by the yajante tamasa janaha, worshipped by the tamasic people. This needs a little bit of decoding. Yajante satvika devan yakshara shamsi rajasaha pretan bhutaganan shanye yajante tamasa janaha. Satvik, Rajasic, Tamasic, Bhagwan is very clear. But what do you mean worship the Devas? Satvik worship the Devas means that they seek their fulfillment at the altar of good qualities, of samata, of santosh, of self-control, of truth and of service. This is their altar of worship, thinking and believing. Their Shraddha is that in this behavior is their fulfillment. They are not going to be disturbed if they follow this path. Sattvic people believe this. But Rajasic people worship the Rakshasas, it is said. Okay, so here the symbolism is that each one of us worship. Now the Rajasic will worship at the altar of ambition, of objects, of wealth and power and success. And to some extent we have followed that to some extent throughout our life, because we need success and wealth and power and all these things beyond what is needed for Jivan Nirvaha, just for livelihood. Beyond that, when we seek something, it means that we are pushing ourselves to the altar of Rajasic. What about the lazy? Bhagwan is saying, oh, they worship the ghosts and the preta. That means they find their satisfaction at the altar of food and sleep and lowly comforts and the comforts and the pleasures of the flesh. Now that is their self-gratification and they think that is it. I'm sure we know people in each of these categories, but this is not for us to pass judgment on them, because hold on, Bhagwan has said there is a factory fitting of Sattvic and Rajasic and Tamasic in all of them. When will their Sattvic rise? We don't know. It may rise any time. So let's not be hasty in passing judgment. This is only to hold a mirror up to ourselves and say, hold on, am I worshipping at the altar of too much and excess of comfort and luxury and food and drink and shopping and self-gratification? Or am I getting too ambitious about some new project and I have to fulfill it? Bhagwan says there is a consequence of where you worship. If I am worshipping Yajante Satvika Devan, Bhagwan has used the word Yajante, worship. If I am worshipping at the altar of, let's say, Sattvic, which means that at the altar of divinity and service and truth and Sat and equanimity, Samata which is called, and detachment, Asakti, important qualities, then what's going to be the consequence for me? The consequence for me will be that I will have Santosh and Samata and balance and equanimity and steadiness and quietness and silence in my life. The reward is right there. What I worship is what I become, is what I get. It's very, very logical and it's not rocket science. And that is the niyam of nature. We cannot even go against this niyam of nature. It's like saying I'll go against gravitational pull. I don't like gravity. So you may or may not like it. I may not agree with gravity. But when I need my rocket up in Mars, I have to have enough fuel in my rocket propeller to shoot out of the stratosphere. I have to have it. I have no choice but to accept the reality of gravity. It is the niyam of universe. This is also the niyam of universe, of Prakriti, that what I follow, what I believe in, what I pursue is going to become my swabhava, and my consequences cannot escape me. If I am worshipping at the altar of ambition and success and wealth and objects and situations which should be conducive to me, and I'm doing it with a lot of impatience and haste and a kind of eagerness to have that fulfillment, then what is the consequence? For me, my antahkaran will adopt the qualities of envy. अरे उनको कैसे हो गया? Jealousy, हमने भी ये ट्राई किया, ऐसे कैसे हो गया? अभिमान, अरे हमने ट्राई किया और ये हमने करके दिखाया. I am the karta. Abhiman, vengefulness, let me see how they go ahead. I'm going to make sure that they are pulled back. Vengefulness, abhiman, dambha, darpa. Dambha, darpa is hypocrisy and arrogance. All these will become part of my nature. It's my shraddha, my belief in the sansar कि मुझे ये सब हासिल करके fulfillment मिलेगा. Once I believe that, मेरी श्रद्धा वहाँ हो गई. Wealth and power and success and approval and मान and सम्मान. अगर वो श्रद्धा है, then I will pursue it. I will yajante, worship at that altar, and what I get is the rajasic quality of dambha, darpa, kama, and jealousy and envy and restlessness and agitation. I have ordered it. Who has ordered it? I ordered it with my shraddha, with my belief कि yes, ये संसार सत्य है, ये संसार सत्य है और इसकी चीजें भी सत्य है, और इसमें से मिलने वाले सुख जो ऑब्जेक्ट से मिलते हैं, जो शॉपिंग से मिलते हैं, जो रिलेशनशिप से मिलते हैं, जो सिचुएशंस और ट्रैवल से मिलते हैं, और जो सक्सेस और मान सम्मान और बढ़ाई, मेरी बढ़ाई किसी को करना चाहिए, उससे जो मुझे सुख मिलता है ना, उसमें मैंने सत्यता मान ली है. I believe that is the truth. It is true. It is real for me. If it is real for me, then it is going to be my truth leading me to Rajasic. And Rajasic is also translated by Bhagwan as Rakshasi. Almost devilish. Yaksha Rakshasa. Yakshara Shamsasi Rajasaha. But the lazy and those who are chasing only sense gratification, that too not making too much effort out of it, expecting others to fulfill it for them, and all the lowest possible urges they want to be satisfied, they want them to be satisfied right now. Very eager for the lowest of urges to be fulfilled. Tamasic, hum sab mein hai thoda bahut tamas, but these are tamasic people. Now Bhagwan is saying in his symbolism that they are pretan bhutaganan chanye, which means they are worshipping the preta or the bhuta, which means simply that they are worshipping or following the dark forces. The dark forces, that's all. They are not physical beings or Rakshas and Deva and Preta and Bhuta, etc. Now, this dark forces, if we worship too much, our whole antakaran becomes so heavy and dark. And when we are fulfilled, or when we feel fulfilled with whatever is around us, whatever we have gained or not gained, or lost also, because gain and loss is part of the same thing. And if I am fighting an election, I may lose because there has to be only one winner. You can't have two winners. If I am taking part in sports competition, there has to be one loser. So if I am a very sporty loser and say, okay, let the best man win, I am not allowing the heaviness of the bhuta preta to wash over me, and my being is light. There is a lightness in my being, in my demeanor, because of the samata, the balance, the equanimity, the acceptance of whatever I have gained or lost or been deprived of or been offered. Doesn't matter. Everything is a blessing. Everything is a prasad from God. Now, in simple terms, this verse means, verse number 4, whatever we seek is what we worship. We seek fulfillment in things outside. That means we worship the things outside. Worship is a word used here. Each one of us is free to select our altar. Which altar do we want to worship at? Now, there is also another question. Are there some people who are also worshipping at totally wrong altars? So before we come to that, let's just recap. जिसकी जैसी श्रद्धा होती है वह वैसा ही बन जाता है. Because this is an important teaching of Krishna, we will just do a quick recap. So your personality, our own personality and our pursuits and our thinking and our behavior and our words, the way we speak and interact, everything reflects, our personality reflects our Shraddha, what we believe in. Now, जैसी हमारी श्रद्धा है, उसी तरफ हम खींचे जाएंगे. I am going to be drawn inexorably, even in spite of myself, I am going to be drawn towards those things that I involuntarily worship. So it could be things of the world, it could be things which are very gross, or it could be things of the inner world that I am looking for, that is the subtle qualities of samata and detachment, asakti and vivek. Vivek, sat or asat kya hai? Gross or subtle? It is my choice. Now, the thing is that the right environment at the right time in our lives may have given us the right ecosystem, Vayumandal, the ecosystem of satsang, of the scriptures, of tap and meditation, and therefore we may have grown with more charity and more self-study. Okay, doesn't matter. That is the outside factor. So there is an outside factor which is satsang, and there is an inner factor called swabhava. Both are contributing to our personality. So, does it mean that we always remain in the same kind of sattvic, rajasic or tamasic guna? No, you can see it fluctuating. At some point you will feel so much at peace with yourself, so much of gratitude for the universe, for all that we have. That gratitude washes over us like a great blessing. There are some mornings like that. And that is a great sattvic way in which we wake up with great gratitude. But there are also other times when suddenly something happens and I cannot help my bitterness and I am angry and bitter about something or someone. Okay, that's a fleeting moment. Remember, if we watch it, it will also wash over us and it will be gone. Great. We are parivartansheel, or that means we are changing creatures, and our qualities, gunas are also parivartansheel. And therefore, just observe them and let them pass. Now, but we have the choice, after we let them pass, to choose the right sangati, satsangati, to choose the shastra, to choose the right vatavaran and say, yes, that vatavaran allows me to be more in sattvic, so let me choose that vatavaran. That choice still remains with us. Now, Bhagwan, now the hidden question is, are there some kind of altars for fulfillment, some kinds of worship or yajna which are really wrong, which are not in the injunctions of the scriptures at all? Bhagwan says, yes, in the 5th verse we will see the wrong way of striving, wrong yajna. Ashastra vihitam ghoram tapyante ye tapo janaha. Those injunctions which are not in the Shastras and ghoram, and yet they are practiced as terrible and cruel tap or yajna, let's call it austerities, great austerities. You will know such people. Great austerities are practiced by them, saying 1 month I am going to not have this or that, or just fast for 1 whole month or 2 months. Okay, they are great. They are great practices. Let me hasten to say that they still give us a sense of control of our senses and body, but still Bhagwan is saying, watch out. They may not be the whole path to the truth. Ashastra vetam ghoram tapyante ye tapo janaha. Verse number 5. Tapyante ye tapo janaha. There are many people who practice these great terrible austerities. Like what? Hatha yoga. You know of Hatha yoga. People who will stand on one leg for years together. And you see many of these in the religious melas. Or people who will hang from a beam for years together. Who will say that they are not going to have food throughout their lives but subsist only on liquid. There are some such. And they are worshipped as Babas in all these religious melas. We know of so many such people. But Bhagwan is saying, watch out. We may admire them because we are not capable of such ghoram, such terrible austerities and such practices which are beyond our capacity. So we admire them, but be careful, because their practice may be strong, but their motive has to be detected. What is their motive? So he says in the second line, Dambhang ahankara samyuktaha kamaraga balanvitaha. There you are. The very motive for doing all this, कि मेरी मान, मेरी बढ़ाई, मेरी recognition हो जाए, और जैसे ही मेरी मान, बढ़ाई, recognition, people will fall at my feet and throw coins at in my pandal, wherever I am exhibiting. Yes, they are exhibitionists. They are exhibiting the siddhi they have attained, some physical siddhi which has no relevance for moksha, and they have attained that siddhi over 40 years of practice. Yes, Bhagavan says that man and samman that they get, and that will create dambha ahankara samyuktaha. What's the great? They are going to lead. It's going to lead to their own downfall because of the abhiman, the hypocrisy, the arrogance. So it's a slippery road. Bhagavan says, stay away from such ghor yagya. Who's asked for it? Bhagavan Krishna is not asked for such strong, cruel, kastadayak. Karshayantaha. In the 6th verse he says, who's asked you to torture yourself? Bhagavan says, no. You can have control over your senses in a very reasonable way. And so this ghor yagya and tap, let's not be deluded by it. So Bhagavan says, they are still led to the lower yoni. Lower yoni meaning they are still led to the lower world. You mean to say, despite all their years of siddhi, of gaining this perfection, standing on one foot or all kinds of things, it's only boosting their ego. They're doing it in order to boost their ego. And ego has no place in Bhagavan's scheme of things for moksha. And he says, stay away from it, and they will, because of the abhiman, they will drive themselves lower. So it is like the story of the very abhimani monk who said that he can walk on water. And the very humble poor boatman said, how long did it take you? I really admire you. I'll fall at your feet. You're so wonderful. How long did it take you to perfect this siddhi of walking on water? So the monk said, it took me all of 40 years, and you are nowhere near me, you poor lesser mortal. You know, they have this condescending way of talking because of their, yes, they have a siddhi, they have a perfection they have attained. So the poor boatman says, yes, it's good for you to have spent 40 years to gain this siddhi, but you know something, I can cross the river anyway on my boat. You are also welcome to be on my boat. You can cross the river anyway. Why spend 40 years to gain that siddhi, to walk on water, to cross that river? How irrelevant, how senseless it is. And therefore, Bhagavan has used this word senseless, actually, in the 6th verse. So he's just warning against all these crazy yagyas. But we also do it in our normal life. Let's see how. 6th verse, Bhagavan says, Karshayanta sharirastham. By torturing your body and giving kashta to it, you're not making anyone happy. You're not coming anywhere close to God, first of all. So let's be clear about it. To your own sharir, you're giving kashta. Karshayanta sharirastham bhutagramam chetasaha. Bhutagramam chetasaha. This is senseless. Bhagavan has used the word senseless. All the elements that achetasaha, senselessly you are doing it. Mam chaivanta sharirastham. You're torturing me also, Krishna says, because I reside in you, and you're not attaining me, that spirit. Tan vidhya sura nishchayan. And through this, you can be sure that these kind of cruel and very terrible and strong yagya practices or austerities are devilish, demoniacal. They are not at all Daivi. Oh, I see. So Bhagavan is saying that if your intention is not clean, you're doing it for Abhiman, then it gets neutralized anyway. Yes, all our social work, all our selfless service to community, all our so-called non-attachment to all the family members and community, it is washed away the moment we say, देखो मैंने क्या किया है तुम्हारे लिए. That dambha, Bhagavan is said in the 5th verse, dambha ankara samyuktaha, it washes away all your service and selflessness. So I don't count it as a punya at all. Krishna doesn't count it as punya. Now, the other downfall, or the, let's say, the drawback of this kind of an austerity is, yes, I may fast for a month. Every year I may fast for a month, or even 2 months for that matter, and say that, look, this is my capacity. And my capacity will increase, because once you practice something, your capacity or your skill in that work naturally increases. That's just the law of nature. And my capacity will increase, and I can fast for a month or 2 months. But Bhagavan says, look, are you expecting spiritual unfoldment from this activity? No, I'm just fasting. If there is no spiritual unfoldment that you are even expecting, leave alone gaining from it, then that expenditure of your energy in so-called religious activity has been wasted. Achetasaha. You call it religious, quote unquote. You know, this is a great fast. This is a great, it could also be a Tirth Yatra. I want to go to Kailash Mansarovar. My knees are hurting, but I'm making that 40-mile journey on foot uphill to Kailash Mansarovar because there is a belief that it is the abode of Shiva. Great. You do it, people will admire you for it because it is a siddhi. It is a kind of achievement, no doubt. But Bhagavan says when your dambha and ahankar carry, also you carry with you, then where does it lead you? Does it in any way bring you any of these religious rituals and our yagyas and our havans and our and all our the practices that we do, the ritualistic practice, they're getting more and more elaborate and more grand. To show what? Bhagavan says your spiritual unfoldment lies somewhere else, my dear. Don't get caught and immersed and submerged and drowned in all the outer activities that people do in a symbolic way. So when I sit at the altar in my house, it's a symbolic gesture to say, God, and now I'm putting the sansar behind me right now. I've just turned my back to sansar. I want to face you for a few minutes and calm down and become asakta and detached and sama and approach vivek, that is sat and asat, that quality, by just lighting one lamp and holding that thought in my mind for a few minutes. That's my worship, that's my prayer, that's my shraddha. And seeking fulfillment at the altar for a divine quality. It's just symbolic. Now that lamp lighting, that prasadam, that rituals, the singing, the drums, it's become more and more elaborate until it has subsumed our very seeking of the highest truth. Bhagavan says, Achetasaha, Bhagavan's words, not mine, in the 6th verse. Don't do these senseless things because you're not pleasing anyone. And in the same time, it's becoming more and more elaborate, all your yagyas and rituals, and adding to your own dambha and abhiman. हम तो ऐसे करते हैं, हम तो इतना कर सकते हैं. Now, what is Arjun's basic question? Basic question is, what propels people towards sattvic, rajasic or tamasic? And Bhagavan is very clear that it is there, factory fitted in everyone. How do you know? Because you can see it in the smallest of situations. Same situations, there will be three kinds of people responding in 3 different ways. So there's the story of 3 monks who were told that they had to cross to the neighboring village before sundown. So they were hurrying because that was a challenge given by the Guru. And as they hurried, the Guru had planted some thorny bushes and brambles on the way just to check what they would do. So the first one saw the thorny bushes and brambles and started getting very angry and saying, what is this? This is no way to behave. He became angry and complaining and bitter and somehow made his way across. The second one came across this thorny bush and obstacle, and he quickly, very nimbly jumped aside and jumped into the nearby ditch and made his way across and said, by sundown I have to reach. That was his ambition. He kept his ambition in mind and not what comes in the way. And the third one, by this time it was close to sundown, he was also getting late, he had to reach the next village, but he said, let me put these bushes aside, because the persons coming behind after me are going to get hurt. And now that the sun is setting, they may not even see that it's a thorny bush. I can at least see it in the fading light. And if they don't see it, they will hurt themselves. Let me take a few minutes and put it aside. The third one was Sattvic. The second one was Rajasic, highly ambitious. Jump across. मैं बुद्धिमान हूँ, मैं skilled हूँ, और मैं चतुर हूँ. And therefore I can achieve things in the sansar. And the first one was very tamasic. Complaining, bitter. ये कैसे मेरे साथ क्यों हो रहा है? So there were 3 monks who were from the same ashram, same guru, same upbringing, but they will behave differently. This is happening to all of us. So Arjun's question is, who is ordaining it? And so the answer is very simple. The choice is ours. क्यों? क्योंकि अर्जुन कहते हैं, मुझे धक्का पीछे से कौन दे रहा है कि सात्विक की ओर चलो, तामसिक की ओर चलो या राजसिक की ओर चलो? भगवान कहते हैं, अर्जुन ये तुम्हारी इजाजत के बिना नहीं जा सकते. तुम यानी ये गुण सात्विक, राजसिक और तामसिक गुणों की तरफ तुम स्वयं अपनी इजाजत के बिना, without your own permission, you cannot even tread this path. It's the altar you choose, it's the road you choose, it's the path you choose. If I'm choosing some of the qualities that Krishna has talked about in the early part of 16th chapter, and suppose they inspire me, I may want to go and visit those verses again and again just for inspiration, because I forget कि अरे हमको इस path पर भी चलना है. I forget and I say, yes Bhagwan, I want to be inspired by the words, by your words, when you say walk the path of detachment, anasakti, vivek, samata, santulan, santosh. And if I am inspired, I will go back to it. Otherwise I will be propelled by my nature. So if my nature is naturally sort of irritable, then even if I pray to God कि today I have to fulfill something in the society committee meeting, and many people are opposed to me for whatever reason, they have their reasons, and I'm going to go to the committee and I tell myself and send a silent prayer up to God, please today let me be controlled, let me be pleasant, let me speak words which are not hurtful, at the same time put my point forward and carry on the work which I have undertaken. I pray, and then when I enter the committee hall and I see what people have done, they have made a mess of the activity. Maybe it was garbage segregation or children's activity, whatever. And it's not to my expectation. What happens? Provocation. At the slightest provocation, I have prayed to God, I want to speak sweet words and tell them nicely, no, this is not right. And I burst out in anger. Who propelled me? Who pushed me? I still don't know, but it happened. When I come home and I reflect, oh, next time I'll be more in control. Each time I tell myself is a little bit of not feeding my angry self or my bitter self or my complaining self. Each time I'm taking away a little bit of energy away from my calm, krodh, my desirous self. And then I go back and I ask for forgiveness and I say, oops, sorry, please, I didn't mean to speak harsh words. The moment I ask for forgiveness, maybe I'm taking a step towards my divine self, my sattvic self. But if I ignore it and I let it go and I say, हम तो ऐसे ही हैं, मुझे काम ज़्यादा ज़रूरी था, it should jolly well get done the way it should be done. Yes, it should be done properly. We all know it. Whether it's environmental activities or children's work or work for the poor, for donation, for the underprivileged, it should be properly done. I agree. But the end result, if it becomes our ambition, then we forget to be kind and compassionate and संतुलित, संतुलित, समता, our own balance is lost. That's the whole thing. That we feed when we don't reflect on it later, of course, our outburst came from where? It came from our own swabhava. Bhagwan has said in the very second verse, answering Arjuna, Trividha bhavati shraddha, dehinam sa swabhavaja. I have fitted all three is a factory fitting in you. But if you watch out, you can give permission to sattvic, rajasic or tamasic in you. Otherwise you just let go and say हम तो ऐसे ही हैं, then we follow any path willy nilly. तामसिक है तो तामसिक है, राजसिक है तो राजसिक है, envious है, jealousy है, anger, bitterness है, complaining है तो complain ही करे जा रहे हैं. I just let it go on willy nilly. No. That's why when we say गुण कंट्रोल में है कि मैं कंट्रोल में हूँ, the answer is here. Bhagwan says it's very much you. But when we see the outer behavior, what are the lakshan? किन लक्षणों से मैं पहचान सकता हूँ लोगों को और अपने को कि मेरी क्वालिटीज हैं क्या? वो लक्षण क्या बाहर दिखाई देते हैं? Yes, they are visible in all my choices, my pursuit, my interests, the things that I am drawn to, attracted to, the people I am drawn to, attracted to, the things I choose to do, not choose to do, repelled by, whatever. Everything is indicating the guna. So Bhagwan takes up each one of these things, even the food we eat, the food we enjoy. Bhagwan says, even that is indicating your lakshana and your swabhava. Ahara, that's in the 7th verse. Your ahara, your food, is indicating you who you are. I mean, not who you are in the ultimate sense, but the gunas that you have. That we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time.